The Game Store Podcast. Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to talk about how to productively start your online business, whether it's Amazon or eBay. The ways to get started, how to get started, where to find stuff, how to sell stuff, so on and so forth. First, I just want to say, I want Dutch to talk first because I think he's a little more experienced than me, but I just want to say what the outcome can happen from being successful online. My family was blessed enough to be able to be successful doing what we did to start this store, to start a video game business, which has always been my dream. And we did it literally by selling online. We would sell online and we would stash money away. We'd sell online, we'd stash money away until we got enough to be able to start up this business. I want Dutch to go first because, like I said, he's been doing this a lot longer than I have. He does it full time right now. So you want to go ahead and start with this?
Like he said, I am a full-time internet reseller. I know that catches a lot of hate.
Not
That's
a scalper,
okay.
a reseller. It's a difference.
I am a reseller. I pay around what people are asking for their products and I sell them for a profit. Before anything that we have to say about this, if you are looking to get started selling on eBay, the most important step, start selling on eBay. I assume you already have an account. I assume you already have your PayPal thing set up. If you don't have your PayPal thing set up and you do have an account, figure out how to get your PayPal thing set up. It will cover you. Take pictures. Put up your item, write out your description, make your mistakes, learn from every single one of your mistakes. As far as where to sell online, I sell on eBay, Amazon, I've sold a little bit on Craigslist, I've looked into Etsy, I haven't actually gotten into it, and I've sold on Mercari. I do think that eBay is the way to get started just because it's a massive sales platform and because it allows you to make those mistakes without actually putting you in a position where you're in danger of losing your ability to sell online.
Can I just add one thing
Sure.
right there? Just because it intertwines with what he's saying. Now, to sell on eBay, one of the best ways to get started too is actually buying on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
Buy small things. You don't have to buy big things. Just buy a bunch of small things. 50 cents from China, free shipping, all that stuff. I've seen it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why is because you get feedback, and feedback's very important when you're starting because people tend to buy more from people who have more feedback, and they don't see if it. They can check, but a lot of people don't check whether it's selling or buying or so on and so forth. Good feedback. You want good feedback, and once you get that, then you can start branching more into bigger sales.
Sure. And that's something that you want to protect too, is your feedback. And so that's one of the other things that I want to mention right out the door is that you want to provide good customer service. Let me rephrase that. You do not want to provide good customer service. You want to provide excellent customer service. The moment that you put one thing up for sale on eBay, you are in business. You are offering a product for a price in a retail environment. You are in business. You owe your customer, your buyer, proper customer service. If they send you a message with a question in it, even if it's kind of annoying, you need to answer that question. For a lot of reasons that I'll get into here in a minute, don't say no returns. Number one, it doesn't help you at all. eBay has a money-back guarantee, so does PayPal. It lasts for 30 days. Offer 30-day returns. It also increases your exposure. It decreases your exposure if you don't offer those returns. What I mean by that is that when you put your item up for sale on eBay, even if it's a super popular item, but you're saying no returns, you're not going to show up high in the search results. You're going to have to scroll through a bunch of different listings of the same exact thing, or even through many pages of the same thing to find your listing. Now, when it comes to selling an item on eBay, there's really just a couple of things that you want to make sure that you're on top of to make sure that your listing is actually coming out, it's popping out to your buyer. When I'm scrolling through eBay, if you have something listed on there and I'm looking for it and there's 10 million of it, yours needs to pop out. So there's a couple of things that you need to make sure you're on top of. The first is you want to price it accordingly. The way you do that is you go to eBay and you look at sold listings. Do not take a Mario Duck Hunt cart. I see this happen all the time. People will find a Mario Duck Hunt cart and they'll throw it up on eBay, but they won't do the research, and so they'll think, oh, this is super old, and maybe they're not video game people, so they don't understand what the pricing is, but they just think, oh, it's super old, $50. Nobody's going to buy Mario Duck Hunt for $50. It's just not going to happen. So you go to the sold listings and you see the Mario Duck Hunt sells for between $8 and $12 free shipping. And you price it accordingly. Another thing when it comes to pricing is that adding best offer to your buy it now listings is another one of those things that'll increase your exposure. It'll make you show up higher. Now, a lot of people do auctions. I personally am not a huge fan of auctions.
Well, do you want to explain to them real quick what the difference, when it comes to eBay fees, what the difference between auction and buy it now is?
You know, I actually don't know the difference between auction and buy it now fees because I don't do auctions.
So buy it now, paying a 10% fee to eBay right off the top. So you sell something for $80, boom, $8 right to eBay. I mean, you'll get to use that $8 until the middle of the month when eBay's like, all right, we'll take all of our fees now. Yeah. But when you do auction, it's actually only a 1% fee.
Oh, I didn't know
That's
that.
why they push auction so much. But at the same time, you're taking a chance that you're not going to get nearly what you want for it. But in the weird circumstances I've seen a lot is sometimes it actually sells for more than you expect.
Yeah, it just takes two people.
It's because people get back and forth and like it's almost like a fight. Like one wants to win and they don't care what they're going to pay for it. I want to get this.
I bought on eBay.
And I've done it before.
Yeah.
I've been one of those guys that's overpaid.
Yeah.
It's never fun when you're that guy. But yeah, so there is a benefit to auctions, and I'm not the guy to talk about.
I'm not really
to talk to about auctions, just because I don't do them. I've never had good experiences with selling through auctions. Buying through auctions is great. But selling through auctions, I haven't had really good experiences.
The one time I would actually suggest selling through an auction, if it's a really, really odd item that you can't find a price on or you can't find a sold listing on or something, along those lines.
Sure.
And when you do an auction, what you're doing is you're telling the people, tell me how much this is worth.
I bought on eBay.
The main key on eBay, a product is only worth what people are willing to pay for it.
That's
period.
fact.
That's the bottom line.
And that's true in any market.
Like with me, when I go to list something on eBay, what I do is I look at sold listings, get an idea what something's worth, and then I go to current listings. I looked at my exact condition. I go through the filters and I go through my exact conditions, whether it's new, used, mint condition, whatever. And then I go to lowest to highest to see what the lowest price is that people are selling it for. Mind you, if I'm doing a buy it now, I don't look at auctions because it's pointless because I'm not competing with auctions. I'm competing with buy it
You'll
now.
see them at 99 cents.
Yeah, so I'm selling Mario Duck Hunt. And let's say the cheapest one on eBay in my exact same conditions, $8. I'm either going to put it at $7.99 or in another case, if it's a higher item, like we'll say, $500, I might put it at like $450 or something like that, a bigger gap, but something that's more enticing. But the last thing I got to say about this, don't put your item too low on cost in certain circumstances because then it looks like something's wrong with it and like the person feels like they're missing something and it's hard to sell. I've been in that position before. So just price accordingly, price to sell. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's only worth what people are willing to pay for it.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's true. And if you get to a point where you're going to be doing this on a regular basis or you're trying to make supplemental income or even a full-time income like myself, then you do need to be on top of pricing things accordingly. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with a ton of stale inventory. Be aware of your price and be educated, I suppose is a good word. Be educated as to what the price should be given the current market value. The other two things that are there's three things that are a big deal. One is your listing title. Now, there's countless videos on this and everything else that we're talking about right now all over YouTube. I do suggest that you take and spend a lot of time looking into what exactly professional eBay sellers have to say about titles. One of the biggest mistakes that I see is that people try and make, I don't know how to describe this. Like, they'll try and make a complete sentence in the title.
Yeah.
Or even worse, they'll use things like that look in all capital letters, but the two O's or the @@ symbol. And they'll keywords. Keywords are what you're looking for. I don't know what you're selling right now. I don't know what you're trying to list right now. Sort it the opposite of how you price your item. Sort it high to low. Look at the highest one that's sold in your exact same condition and see what keywords they're using. And look at the top 50 of them. If you've never done this before, look at the top 150 of them. And just keep doing this until you know exactly what keywords to use because those keywords are going to make you show up. The second thing that really draws a customer's attention is your pictures. The easiest way to take pictures, in my opinion, and the most professional looking way to take pictures is with a clean white background. You want to make your item look as much like it's floating as possible. You kind of want it to look like a stock photo without looking exactly like a stock photo, just because it looks clean. We've all gone on eBay and we've seen pictures of that Mario Duck Hunt cartridge, and it will be sitting on the kitchen table with the kid running through the background with snot on his nose being chased by the cat, and there's a pile of dirty laundry over here. That doesn't look good. I mean, it's real, sure, but it doesn't look good.
But unless you see a shirt in the background on the floor that you're like, I really want that shirt, then you message them and be like, hey, is the shirt for sale?
And, that could have 1 out of a million listings that you put up, that will probably happen.
Yeah.
I've never had that happen. I've always used a background. That background, though, when I first started, my background was literally a sheet. It was hanging on a wall, sitting on top of 2 file cabinets, and I had 4 broken desk lamps that I had just, like, shining light all the way onto this thing. And it worked, and then I made a light box out of a cardboard box and tissue paper because I still had no money. There's all kinds of different ways to do this, and again, this is another one of those situations where go on YouTube, find a video that's dedicated to this kind of thing from reputable resellers, because they can teach you a lot about this.
That's where you learned a lot of your stuff too, huh?
Yeah, I learned pretty much everything that I know off of YouTube and a little bit off of Google, but
most of it off experience.
Yeah, I've been full-time doing this for 3 years, something like that, which, that ain't bad for a guy with no college experience, not having to call somebody boss for 3 years.
But to work
straight.
for your own, you realize, like, this is allowing you to have an opportunity to not have to listen to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're your own boss. You can sell what you want. You can sell when you want. You can sell how much you want. It's all up to you. It's about the effort you're willing to put in it. And your business totally relies on your hard work. Mm-hmm. But just the last thing I have to say about this, and then I want to get into kind of how to find some products.
Sure.
Because you said, the joke we made about those t-shirt in the background. Mm-hmm. I've sold on this counter right here, I've sold quite a few items, some non-video game stuff.
Sure.
I made listings of taking pictures and putting it on eBay and so on and so forth. And I've had four different instances of somebody messaging me, seeing my item, asking me if the game underneath in the case is for sale. And I've actually made some sales that way. I've actually said, I will make a listing for you. You can purchase this item because, ultimately we are a store. And pretty much what I do is I just sell it to them for the sticker price plus shipping.
Sure.
And then they're fine with that.
And that's a good background to have. It's not a plain white background or a plain colored background, but that's a good background to have because it's all for sale and because it's all like neat and tidy and there's no cats or snot-nosed kids or laundry.
Right? So let's get into a short little segment on how to actually find your items. There's a bunch of different steps. I've kind of mentioned this in a video way long ago on this channel about how to become a video game collector, but we're going to repeat ourselves because it goes in play with this. No matter what you're selling, we're not just talking about video games here, we're talking about everything. Anything that's worth making a buck for. Mm-hmm. Personally, correct me if I'm wrong, if you have a better opinion, but I think the number one place to find items to make a profit off of is garage sales.
I do agree, because of the price.
Because of the price. And people are cleaning out their house. Usually they put it out to the garage sale, not to get rich, but because they want to get rid of it and they're just trying to make a penny or two. Something just to say, hey, I don't want to donate this to, Goodwill or a thrift store. It's my item. I want to make a penny, 50 cents, $1 on it. So I'm going to go ahead and sell it. Or first of all, learn a product line. That's the first thing. You'll learn more down the line, but learn a product line. Like
my first was coffee mugs.
There you go, coffee mugs.
Line that I learned.
My first was a mistake, which was DirecTV satellite boxes. Learned the hard way. I did an auction. It was my very first sale ever. The auction ended, and I didn't even make enough to ship it. So I took a loss my very first one. But like I said, you're going to experience some speed bumps in the way, but you're going to learn, and you're going to not make those mistakes again. You're going to learn from your experiences. Learn an item. If you want to learn about CDs, learn about CDs. Learn about scratches, how scratch can it be, so on and so forth, how to describe that. If you want to do ties, if you want to do video games, if you want to do collectibles, comic books, whatever it is, learn about it. And the more you learn, you're going to be able to branch out into other things. And then when you go to a garage sale, you have like 10 different things you're looking for. You'll know certain things to stay away from, like bookcases and recliners, because you're not going to be able to ship those, in a fashion that's worth your time. So I would say, starting off, look for something that's shippable and that you can make at least double your money on. That's the goal, is you always want to try to double your money, whatever the instance is. In a lot of instances, you'll get a lot more than that.
Oh, yeah.
You want to talk about a little about garage sales, or maybe the second one?
I completely agree. I think that what you're looking for is something that's shippable and also something that's common, something that you're going to come across a lot of times. That's why I went with coffee mugs right at first, is because I'd go into thrift stores, which is where I did a lot of my sourcing, And there's always coffee mugs. And that's the next most profitable place as far as I'm concerned. I think that thrift stores are the next most profitable place specifically because they beat out the next one for me because of how often you can go.
Yeah, that's true.
And the next is swap meets, where it's kind of a crapshoot, but it can be that you get garage sale prices. It can be that you get astronomical prices that you're going to stay away from, which you'll find at yard sales anyway. But thrift stores are a great place to go just because they're open so often, because the people who are selling you the things have no emotional attachment to it, which does get in the way of getting a decent price sometimes, and because certain things are so abundant. We both go to thrift stores looking for video games, and we find them all the time. I don't necessarily sell video games very often, and a lot of the stuff that you find you'll wind up keeping if it's something that you don't have. Yeah. But it's a good place to find video games, great place to find coffee mugs. I sell a lot of ties. It's just a great place to find an abundance of new inventory. And if you're trying to go full-time or make a supplemental income, that's something that you're going to need to focus on. Last, in my opinion, only because it's for an advanced crowd, and I'm only going to mention it here for those of you who are really serious about this, there's a method called retail arbitrage. There's also online arbitrage. It's pretty much the same thing. You go to a retail store, whether physical or internet, and you buy a quantity of products at retail prices. A lot of times you'll do it when they're on sale at 70 to 90% off, and you'll be able to make a profit that way with, it's the difference between when I find a coffee mug, I have to make a listing for the one coffee mug, and then the next coffee mug, I have to make another one. If you find 500 of a thing at Walmart.com or whatever, then you can make one listing for 500 things. You save time. Again, very advanced. Don't try and start with that kind of thing, but
that's actually what people are doing at Sam's Club right now. I haven't done this, but I have a lot of friends who own video game stores too, and what they did is they went to Sam's Clubs that were closing down their area. They bought a bunch of like Xbox Ones and PS4s at 25% off, and then they're selling them for retail in their store.
Yeah, and it's a lower profit margin, but it's a higher level of profit just because you're having to do less work for more money.
Yep.
It's, like I said, it's advanced, but it's worth looking into once you get to that point. But at the very, very beginning, I'm going to suggest the stereotypical thing that every single reseller has already suggested to you if we're not the first video you've watched on this. Sell stuff around your house. If you have video games, even if you have a collection and you love your video games, find 10 of them. Just 10. The 10 that you like least, throw them up on eBay. Learn the system. If you have pots and pans, sell pots and pans. If you have ties, if you have coffee mugs, if you have DVDs, if you have CDs, whatever it is, just stuff around your house that you don't have to pay for so that your investment remains as low as possible for you to learn the system initially.
The only thing I was going to say is I have taken, some games from my collection and put it online before to sell. But it's mainly for certain circumstances. Like, for instance, let's say I'm low on cash and I have an APS bill or something that's due, and I have it due in 3 days. Well, being like a self-starter, self-motivator, a lot of people are like, I don't know what to do. It's just going to be late, so on and so forth. No, I'll throw a couple things up there. I'll put them at prices that they're going to sell quickly. And 30 minutes later, the money's in my bank account and I'm paying APS. Or I'm paying Cable One. Or I'm paying my mortgage. Or I'm paying this. It's an option that you have. If you don't want to do it full time, that's great. But it's always an option to get quick money. Quick money. And that's kind of how I've gone to. I used to do it kind of full time. But now it's just more of, if something's sitting in the store for a very long time, then I just throw it up on eBay, get out of the store, take the money, and then buy some more stuff that people actually want to buy.
Sure. And as a game collector and a full-time reseller, I've talked to you about this. There was a point in time where I live in a pretty rural area, but as a full-time reseller, I need a constant influx of inventory. Well, because of many circumstances, me and my fiance wound up, our cars were not working for a while, and I decimated my collection. But we paid the bills, we never went hungry, so on and so forth. It's there. That's not for you to worry about right at the beginning of this, but it's an option that you have. And what I'm trying to get to is that you can sell things around your house. Even so, you would be surprised the kinds of things that people buy on eBay. Even if you have broken electronics, a lot of times, look it up. Look at the sold listings and find out, is this worth my time? Again, I'm going to go back to my first point. The most important step is that you take that first step. Get that first item up there, get it listed, learn the system, make the mistakes, and most importantly, learn from those mistakes. It'll get you on your path.
All right, guys, so if you like this segment and you want us to branch out a little more in depth on certain things like maybe what to sell, getting into the listings, so on and so forth. Comment down below if it interests you. I think that's enough to get us started for today. I will see you guys on the next one. Gosh, my throws are getting worse. Thank you. That was actually, it's still very in the chair. Bravo, bravo. Chocolate rain.
Chocolate rain.